You might be able to take a wormhole.
Yeah, and the kicker is it something you can do, you and I run down to the airport, let's take a quick trip to Zeta Reticuli, which seems to be the star system these guys are from? No, of course not. The big 747 costs a lot of money, too. And Kathy and I did a book, Science Was Wrong, 14 chapters. We each did 7. It's time for another one because there are a lot of smart people saying stupid things. One of the things that was said by a great astronomer back in 1903 was that if there was one thing he was sure of, man would never be able to fly any distance in a vehicle other than a balloon. That was 2 months before the Wright brothers' first flight. The British Astronomer Royal in 1956 said space travel was utter bilge. Who would spend the money? What good would it do? What we need is better equipment for astronomy. And, of course, out of the space program has come a lot of good equipment for astronomers,
Oh, yeah.
The Hubble and so forth. So we need to realize that we're a young society in the larger scheme of things. I mean, if the planet is over 4 billion years old, how much history do we know? A few thousand, real history. So we need to leave room for what we don't know. Every direction you look. I mean, I look at microcircuits, for example. I think back, I did some computer work when I was working for GE, and it was in another building, and it was enormous with vacuum tubes all over the place and special air conditioning and stuff like that. I got a little computer on my desk here that would outdo the best they had back then. Things change. And if we have learned more in the last few years, surely somebody who got started a little bit before we did, 1,000 years, million years.
Yeah, millions of years, which is probably more realistic. That movie, by the way, that I was talking to you about before we went on air, it's called Arrival, and it's been nominated for just ridiculous amounts of awards. Let's see. I think I just read a little write-up on it here. Let's see. Where do we find it here? Arrival, 8 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. So this is no small deal. This is a big film, Arrival, and it's got Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, Forrest Whitaker, so just to name but a few here, but very well produced, and it's very riveting. So definitely see that movie. It'll blow you away.
I will.
Good stuff.
I'm glad. At one time, several years back, 3 of the top 5 motion pictures in terms of attendance or income, whatever is more important, were about UFOs. Close Encounters and all the rest. Contact. That wasn't Contact. There were 3 of them anyway. I don't know what the number is now, but as a matter of fact, our book Captured is being peddled around Hollywood. And that's why I recognize the name of Forrest Whitaker. Because he's one of the people that might be playing Barney.
That would be awesome. And hopefully they consult you for the movie.
Well, I hope so, since I'm one of the authors of the movie. But the point is that there's a lot going on, and there's every generation learns stuff the previous generation didn't know about. And one of the other things is people tell me governments can't keep secrets. Come on, with the internet and YouTube.
Please.
And,
sure.
I helped keep lots of secrets when I was working in industry. And, the first spy satellite, Corona spy satellite, not named, I don't think, for the little town near where the Roswell incident actually happened, small world and all that, that was kept secret. They had 12 failures in a row that were not public. This is when we knew the U-2 wasn't going to last forever. The Russians would be able to shoot it down, as they did. The Corona spy satellite, the first one, got more information about Soviet military installations than all the U-2 flights that had preceded it. Did we go bragging about it? No. Publicly wasn't revealed for 30 years. And I get a kick out of how they got the film back. They deorbited a film canister, basically, and an airplane came by out over the Pacific and grabbed it out of the air. Honest to God.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's real. And but 30 years they kept it a secret. There are loads of other secrets. When we were separating uranium isotopes to build the first atomic bomb, we built a mile-long facility at Oak Ridge because they had a lot of electricity there. And would you believe that they were using more than 5% of all the electricity produced in the United States to pump a uranium-based gas through this facility a mile long?
That is incredible.
In secret.
All right, I got to ask you a question. We don't have much time here, and I got to ask you this, and I'm sure you've been asked this a million times. All your experience, all your life's work, Stanton, what to you is the most compelling thing that you've come across that you have said to yourself, without a doubt in my mind, in my heart, my being, we are not alone?
Oh boy, there's an awful lot of them. The thing that kicked me over from the what's going on here to I see was finding a copy of the biggest study ever done for the Air Force, Project Blue Book, Special Report 14, had data on 3,200 sightings done for the Air Force. It wasn't mentioned. I'd read 10 books before that. None of them had mentioned it. And I found that the Secretary of the Air Force lied through his teeth. He said even the unknown 3% could have been identified as conventional phenomena if more complete observational data had been available. Well, the fact of the matter is, I had the report, and the unknowns weren't 3%, they were 21.5%.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like being lied to by the Secretary of the Air Force. They also found that the better the quality of the sighting, the more likely to be unknown, a whole bunch of other data. And you never see it referenced by the nasty, noisy negativists, the naysaying people. That one really shook me up. I mean, I worked under security. I know that sometimes you have to tiptoe around that.
Oh, yeah.
But flat out lying like that was kind of a shock to me. And I was also, admittedly, I was the first to publish about the star map work associated with the Betty and Barney Hill case that we talked about, and recognizing that just 39 light years away, just down the street, there are two stars, Zeta 1 and Zeta 2 Reticuli. They're an eighth of a light year apart. They're more than 30 times closer to each other than we are out here in the boondocks to the next star over. I would expect that there'd be more effort to develop interstellar travel when you got a neighbor star that you can see all day long. And in other words, the incentive for developing interstellar travel goes up as the nearness of the neighbors goes down. You know?
Absolutely.
So that combination was pretty powerful to me. And I met the Hills, incidentally, and I was the first to publish about that star map. So I'm still excited about it.
Well, we're excited about you and Fact, Fiction, and Flying Saucers. Stanton Friedman and Kathleen Martin. She'll come on one of these days and talk as well. I would love to have Kathleen on, and I know she will. You can get an autographed copy right now of Stanton's book. If you'd like to get that right now, I'd recommend it right now on Stanton Friedman's website. Just go to stantonfriedman.com. And Friedman is Friedman. Go there now. Pick up the book. It is a compelling read. And best of luck at your conference out there in Arizona.
And it'll be warm.
Yeah. What's the temperature right now in New Brunswick?
8 degrees.
Well, I hope you enjoyed Stanton Friedman. That was an interview we did last week. And we're doing a best of broadcast today on For the People. Our website's forthepeopleshow.com. We are a listener-supported program. If you haven't become a member, you can sign up today at forthepeopleshow.com. We'll be back right after this. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Keith Allen. Ed Kline is our guest on this special edition of For the People due to the fact I'm out of town. A family member of mine, Alicia, 6-month-old granddaughter, is having surgery today. And Ed Kline, best-selling author, New York Times best-selling author, Guilty as Sin. This was an interview from several months back, but very revealing.
It's great to be with you, and thank you so much for having me.
No problem. I had told my audience that we would dial you up live, literally on the show, and we did it. And you're going interview to interview, television, radio. Probably don't have enough time to even drink a cup of coffee these days. You've been busy, but you wrote a book, and You've written a lot of books, but this one is timely, I believe. It is called Guilty as Sin. Take us through this journey.
Well, I mean, it's everything I wrote in that book is coming true in spades. We've got an renewed FBI investigation of her pay-to-play relationship with the Clinton Foundation. We have Anthony Weiner's laptop being examined by the New York Police Department, by the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, by I don't know how many FBI agents. What are we, 5 days out from the election?
Yeah.
And if she's elected, I think she'll become the first crook who's ever been elected president of the United States.
Well, it's here. Then Bill Clinton back in the East Wing, roaming the corridors of the White House. It'd be unbelievable. I mean, anybody else, I've talked to friends that work for other companies, and if they did half the things, I mean, not even just half the things, maybe even one thing about just ever deciding to go outside of the building for company use using a private email, they'd been fired on the spot.
Well, of course. And, my book, Guilty as Sin, excuse me, takes the reader through, step by step, the inside story of the FBI investigation of Hillary Clinton, the dispute between the FBI and the Justice Department, the clash between James Comey, the director of the FBI, and President Obama in the Oval Office, the role that Bill Clinton has tried to play in getting Hillary off the hook, the contortions that Hillary has gone through and all her people have gone through to get her out of this bind. But in fact, there's no question I don't think, most Americans' minds, because we know 70% of Americans now, by polling, think of her as untrustworthy. I think that probably is a higher figure today, now that the FBI has renewed this investigation. And this book takes you like a fly on the wall into these meetings between these major figures in this investigation in a way that nobody else has ever done before.
I believe that. And the emails where they're showing right now, the Clinton campaign, and you just mentioned that, coordinated with the State Department before the email revelation. And so this coordinated cover-up, it would make you wonder, and I wonder, Ed, did Obama know what was going on behind the scenes?
Well, I have a story. Well, that's a good question, and in this book, Guilty as Sin, I address that very question. The fact of the matter is that from the moment Hillary became Secretary of State and started emailing the president, which, of course, every Secretary of State does, she reports to the president.
Sure.
They were aware in the White House, and I say they, I'm talking about the president and Valerie Jarrett and all of the president's senior advisors, including David Axelrod back in 2009, when Hillary was first Secretary of State, that she was using a personal email system. And they called her in, and they said, hey, wait a second. We signed, you and the White House signed a memorandum of agreement about how you would behave as Secretary of State in terms of transparency.
That's right.
And that you would not, for instance, allow the Clinton Foundation to take foreign donations, that Bill Clinton wouldn't make any speeches abroad without first clearing them with the White House.
Interesting.
And in short, everything that you do would be transparent. And here you are sending us emails on an unsecure server, and we are responding to you, and everything the president says to you is, of course, classified. So you've got to stop doing this. This is President and Valerie Jarrett talking to Hillary Clinton. She turned around, left the Oval Office, and continued doing exactly what she was doing before, never stopped doing it. The president knew it because he continued to get emails from her like that. So did Valerie Jarrett and all the rest of them. And for 4 years, while Hillary Clinton was in the State Department, the President of the United States let Hillary Clinton, knowingly let her jeopardize national security and put American lives at risk, and did nothing about it. And I think in large part, one of the reasons the FBI back in July, James Comey, the director, didn't recommend an indictment of Hillary is for the reason that if he had, the president would have